Hello and welcome back. Susan Zumo here, intuitive and originator of soul patterning harmonics. Before we begin this week's message, I just want to give everybody a heads up and let you know that I am going to start posting the meditations that we do at the Higher Consciousness Cafe every month. I know many of you are not in my time zone, and getting to the cafe is not easy. So I am just recording the meditation itself. It will be audio only, but I do have it up at my YouTube channel here, and I will be posting them as well in the coming months. So thanks to everyone who asked for it, and thanks to everyone who are listening and using it and watching these videos. I appreciate you so much. Well, before we get started with this week's message, I want to give you a little background about how I got to this week's message. If you want to, stick with me, and I will get there as quickly as possible. But if you don't, you can skip ahead and go straight to the message. Either one's fine with me. So the background to this week's message happened back in 92. Not 1892, I'm not that old. The other 92. I had a group of friends who were encouraging me to go do a reading through it with a trance channel who was bringing in an entity named Titus. And Titus spent a lot of the readings that he was doing giving people nutritional information and doing body scans and health readings. And at the time I thought that was pretty boring and wasn't really interested in it, so I resisted. But eventually they convinced me when the person who was channeling him came to our town to go have a session with him, which I did. Well, Titus didn't spend very much time talking to me at all about diet, which is good at the time because, as you know, I wasn't interested in it. But we did talk about a lot of spiritual things, my past lives and experiences, which was wonderful. He gave me a lot of good information about things I needed to know at that time. And I had the opportunity to ask questions, which was something that most people didn't get to do. Well, I took full advantage of that. And being a curious person, I wanted to know who he was and why was he doing this, and whole bunch of other things about spirituality and about the universe. I could tell that he was pleased and didn't get those kind of questions very often, especially back in the 90s when most people were, let's say, 3D focused on their daily lives. I asked him if he was an avatar, which is what I had been told. And he said no, he was an avatar in training, and that doing these sessions was his service, that he was learning with his teachers, and he was also charged with giving back, and that he would grow spiritually through the service he was doing. And I thought that was absolutely amazing, that this wonderful high being was doing health readings for people like us back in the 90s. What I remember and what I took from that wasn't the information that he gave me, which was absolutely wonderful, as well as the encouragement and some information about lifetimes that weren't so glorious. But what I came away with, in essence, was the feeling that I had during the session. There was unconditional acceptance of who I was. There was unconditional love for me as a human being. And there was absolutely no judgment whatsoever. He could not have been more neutral if he tried. So this morning, when I was asking around my higher and my guys, what were we going to talk about this week? They reminded me of Titus, my avatar in training. And they said to me, you all are avatars in training at this time. You all have unique gifts, talents, and abilities. And you all are growing through service simply by being who you are and executing those talents. loving unconditionally, without judgment, but encouraging others just by being who we are is our service. And that makes us avatars in training. I thought that was pretty cool because I have a lot of people who ask me what their purpose is. And sometimes I wonder what my purpose is. And what I was given this morning was, my purpose is to be me. Your purpose is to be who you are. In all of your wonderful humanity, unique gifts, talents, and resources. We do not have to die and become discarnate beings doing sessions for others to be of service. We do not have to escape our lives, quit what we're doing in life, and run off to have some grand service purpose. We can grow spiritually simply by being who we are. And so they reminded me this morning that we are not in the 90s anymore. And embracing who we are, loving who we are, sharing that with the world, and expressing our own divinity by completely accepting others for who they are, without judgment, but with love, is our service. Now, how we execute that service is completely up to us. And they said that how we choose to execute our service and to grow spiritually comes from within. It comes from our own innate desires and talents. It comes from our experiences in this life and all others. And it comes from our own creativity. And so if you are cooking a meal, if you are beautifying a home, if you are listening to another with a kind ear and an open heart, if you are creating art, music, if you are doing your work in the physical world with love and acceptance, that's your spiritual growth. That's your connection to Source. And that's how we evolve. And they wanted me to bring this to our attention and also mine this week. Because this week, we are getting everything thrown at us and the kitchen sink. We are at the kitchen sink, guys, I'm sorry to say. We are being hit from every single direction. And the weapon of choice is discouragement. We, as avatars in training, must accept what we see in the world and then act with unconditional love, without judgment. And I know that's not always easy. I can be pretty judgy myself at times. We're human. How we recover from that within ourselves is important. My recovery time's gotten a lot shorter over the years, and I'm pretty proud of that. And I know that you're working on it, and yours has too. So as we move through this intense time period, which will continue to intensify, especially in the next weeks, in the next months, October is going to be the big one. And then we'll even talk about November later. We're not even going to get into that now. But as we go through October, remember, discouragement is the weapon of choice, and choosing not to be discouraged is a step in expanding spiritually, in supporting the ascension, in supporting the new world that we're creating. There are people who are living a great life in spite of what's going on in the world. And that doesn't mean that they're ignoring what's going on in the world. It means that they choose to live in a joyful and wonderful state of mind, regardless of what's happening around them. And I know that we can do that too. So this week, I want you to remember to play. I want you to remember to find joy and to not be discouraged in the things that you're seeing happening. We must look for the good. We must unconditionally accept and love what we see. And we must do that for ourselves as well. It's going to come from within, and it's going to expand to the outer world. So hold firm. Hold firm. Don't give up. Hold the line. Stay centered within self. Find something to laugh about, even if it's yourself. And have a wonderful, joyful week. Being happy in a miserable world is the most rebellious act you can ever have. And right now, we need to be happy. So until next week, I wish you many blessings. I wish you a joyful week. And I want you to remember that you are an avatar in training.